Sori.
And this is The World is a Beautiful Place and I'm No Longer Afraid to Die. January 10th, 2014 is the name of the song.
It's a very serious band name.
I am.
It took me a while, like, when I was, like, uploading this, I'm like, well, that's gotta be the name of the song. And then I'm like, yeah, but the date can't be the name of the band. And then, sure enough, that's the name of the band. The World is a Beautiful Place and I'm No Longer Afraid to Die.
So the name of okay.
It's like, can I get the new Korn record? Or you're like, I need to get the new The World's a Beautiful Place and I'm No Longer Afraid to Die record. Like, that's so wild. It's so long.
The name of the song is January
10th, 2014. This is for the Alliance Anarchy 99.
Anarchy 90 freaking 9. They always have like really unique
Song choices?
Yeah. I don't know if it's because of Zonia or whoever, but they always have very unique.
Because of Zonia.
Yeah, they always very unique song thingamajiggies. For timely, topical, political commentary, you can hit us up in Middle America with Vin and Sori. There are multiple ways to get your song reviewed, dear listener. My favorite is the community option, which will land you into an alliance. $1 at the gate gets you in at Patreon. You'll notice that other reaction channels, and please like, share, comment, and subscribe to the other reaction channels, especially nuclear reactions from the big homie Blake. So what happens is you'll see that many reaction channels, they'll cut it up every 30 seconds or so. There's a reason for that, because if you play the song from front to back, then what happens is the record label gets alerted, and then the ad revenue that you were going to get gets funneled to the filthy capitalist record label. So other people were smart enough to cut up the songs. We didn't find out about that until like 5,000 subscribers in, and our subscribers were like, no, we don't want you guys to do that. So we listened to people, we didn't do it. So the way we offset that loss is Patreon. $1 at the gate gets you in. If you're a filthy capitalist like Sori, and you don't want to be part of an alliance where you can pool your points together and decide what songs we listen to, like the song we're listening to now, then what you could do is you can 125 get at the gate skyrockets you to the very head of the line, and there you get to decide for yourself what song you want to listen to. And but for now, we're going to listen to January 10th, 2014. I'm extremely excited to listen to this song.
Here we go.
Go! Full screen now.
Become the driver when they drop
Ugh.
The name of the record is Harmlessness. These guys really like the contrasting thingamajiggies, huh?
What? Is there emergency? We're in the middle of a recording.
What?
Okay, these topics make me so angry.
January 10th, 2014
I'm glad she went and did that.
is about retaliation against predators. A character in the song Diana is based on the story of a woman from Ciudad Juarez, Mexico, who avenged unprosecuted and largely ignored sexual assaults being committed by bus drivers on their routes. The video replaces a real-life Diana with Dianic Wiccans who protect themselves using hexes in their own spirituality. The male character in the video is a predator, therefore must be destroyed. Yikes. It's inspired by a true story the band members read in a New York Magazine article. It was written as a tribute to a female vigilante from Ciudad Juarez, Mexico. In 2013, this killer hunted bus drivers in retribution for a woman who had been murdered traveling alone on public buses. In letters claiming responsibility for the killing, she called herself Diana, the Hunter of Drivers. Diana was a Roman goddess of hunting, childbirth, and the moon, and the song contains plenty of references to her attributes. Holy hell!
Yep. Yep.
So she was.
I'm glad.
Yeah, but how do you know? How do you know that she was?
She
killing?
got the right bus drivers.
Yeah. How do you know she got the right bus drivers?
Well, I'm just gonna tell myself she did.
Like, I mean,
But bus drivers have certain routes, so, and I'm sure it was, and it's not like it's like you know which bus drivers do certain routes and which ones are doing what time. So, if a girl randomly goes missing in one of those times.
Yeah. Yeah.
Got what he got.
She.
These girls were getting killed. Their heads on the side of the road, all hollowed out. Ugh.
I guess they never found her.
They didn't.
Yeah. You think that because we are women, we are weak, and that we may be, and that may be true, but only up to a point. Because even though we have nobody to defend us, and we have to work long hours until late into the night to earn a living for our families, we can no longer be silent in the face of these acts that enrage us. We were victims of sexual drivers from bus drivers working the Maquila night shifts here in Juarez, and although a lot of people know about the things we've suffered, nobody defends us, nor does anything do anything to protect us. That's why I am an instrument that will take revenge for many women. We are seen as weak, but in reality we're not. We're brave, and if we don't get respect, we will earn that respect with our own hands. We the women of Juarez are strong.
There. That's disgusting. These women work all those hours and then they're.
Holy hell! That should be the thing right there. Make that the thing.
How did you get
very
that?
Provocative. ThisAmericanLife.org. I'm just gonna send it to you. Don't worry about it.
Well.
So. I have a lot of feelings about this situation, right? Because on the one hand, I love vengeance in this regard. Like physical, like one-to-one, you did something to this girl, and I love the fact that it was a girl that did it, the girl gets back at you, you get what you get. But at the same time, it's like, well, I'm a Christian, so the scripture says, God doesn't delight the death of wicked, but rather the wicked should turn from his way and live. But I honestly don't care. I don't care about him. But then on the other hand, I'm like, that doesn't guarantee that she got the right guy. So she could have killed a person who was supporting his family. Like, what if she killed an innocent bus driver who was supporting his family, and now because this guy is dead, the woman now has to go and get into the workforce and become one of those people.
I hear what you're saying, but at the same time, I think that if what you're doing is to go out and take vengeance, you don't want to just throw some arbitrary arrows in some people's neck that you don't even actually know. I think that if this is what you're doing, you want to get the ones that have gotten away with it.
Well, I know she wants to do that, but I've read nothing that makes it sound like she knows for a fact that those were the people that did that to those women. she just got hurt by bus drivers, so she's gonna go out and kill bus drivers. Which I understand, believe me, I understand. But at the same time, it's like, what if she killed an innocent bus driver and took a husband away from a family, and now one of these women that live at that household have to now go out and become one of those workers? Mm-hmm. And, you know, especially women without fathers in I know for a fact in Juarez, Mexico, that women without fathers are extremely vulnerable to the sex trade. So it's like, it's one of those things where it's like you could actually end up fomenting what you're against by doing this stuff. And this is one of the follies of vengeance, is that, you know, sometimes you end up perpetuating what you're against.
Yep.
Go ahead. It looks like you.
Yeah, I mean, no, you're right, but it's so frustrating when you see someone who has more power taking liberties on someone who is weaker. I can't stand it. I can't stand it when I see kids doing it to other kids. I can't stand it when I see boys doing stuff to girls. I automatically go, you know, I can't stand it. Like, and plus, just in my own personal code, I was like, you know, if somebody was younger than me or smaller than me or whatever, like, I automatically kind of like try to take care of those people instead of like, and here you have these men taking advantage of these girls and these women on the drives. And in the video, it was, you know, hitchhikers, which you always hear about the dangers of hitchhiking. I was reading on this thing, like, there was girls that were talking about it, and they were saying, you know, like, if you're ever in a situation where you have to hitchhike, like, make sure before you step into the vehicle, not just hitchhiking, but also, you know, Uber drivers or anything like that, make sure that the child safety lock is not on when you step in the back seat. And I was like,
how are they supposed to know that?
If you open up the door, on the door usually there's a little switch. And so the child safety lock could be on. So you get in, you see the door's unlocked, you think you can still get out, but all the while you can't. So, you know, always being aware, don't fall asleep in situations like that, you know, just, if you can avoid it, avoid it. Don't go in other people's vehicles you don't know. I mean, it's just, and the thing is, a lot of times, like, you're looking at this girl and she's young, and you think of, like, you know, like when you're young, I don't want to be, but you're like young and you're stupid and you think that you can do everything on your own, and you think that you're better off because you don't want to deal with your parents this or that or the other thing, and so then you end up putting yourself in a situation that's much worse than the rules that your parents had for you. You know, I had friends that were like this. They were like, yeah, you know, whatever, and they would go, I mean, it's just
well, it's interesting. So this is we'll post the link in the description. This American
and
Life.
yeah, I know that I'm a Christian, and I know that I'm supposed to be pacifistic in my way. I'm not there yet, and I know that I'm not there. Like,
well, I mean, I'm obviously not.
Well, you're not there either. I know that.
Not there
but
either.
Like, I certainly know.
And I've never pretended to be. I've said this is what Jesus says, and I'm trying my best to follow him, but I've never pretended that I'm, you know. So maybe that image was. So this is the author of this story. Maybe the image was in the driver's mind on a bus I was riding when he opened the door, and a woman came in, and he said, "What? Are you Diana the Hunter?" "No, of course not," she replied. "What? Are you afraid of me now?" "Well, yeah," he replied. "Shouldn't I be?" And that's part of the lyrics in the song. Mm-hmm. Right there.
Well, I mean,
are you Diana the Hunter? Are you afraid of me now? Well, yeah,
so,
shouldn't I be?
Yes, I hear what you're saying. That maybe perhaps she would shoot the wrong person, and then it would make it so that way that family member would then end up in the same situation. But at the same time, she was striking up fear in the hearts of the bus drivers, because they didn't know which one was Diana. So if they tried to do that,
she was.
You know, like, I think that she probably saved a lot of girls from that as well.
I agree. It's amazing to me that people in positions of power don't do the arithmetic. Like, you can only do that to human beings for so long before they turn on you. You know, so it's like, I'm sure a lot of these bus drivers and a lot of these dudes are like, oh yeah, I can't believe she's doing this, we need to stop her, blah, blah, blah. It's like, if you're not one of the dudes that did that to one of those girls, you probably know the dude. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're in a position of power, it's the same thing that happens in this country with these silly people. They talk about rioting. It's like, you dumb motherfucker. Hello?
Yeah.
What do you think is gonna happen? And people never. It's just human nature. Like, as much as I believe in original sin, like people never default to violence initially. It's always something else. It's like, hey, we got a problem here, we got a problem here. But if it does, it's interesting because Dorian and I had just got done a debate about income inequality, and the pay gap between men and women, and he's like, yeah, patrons, you guys will get first dibs on it, but like, he's like, why do you even care? Like you know, like he's like, you make money, who cares, whatever. And I'm like, Dorian, well, number one, I have 2 daughters. That's number one. I'm like, and 2, God forbid you end up having a daughter. But like, aside from that, like, whenever you have a perpetual injustice in a society and the people that are being attacked are not being heard, then it's just a matter of time before something happens, and that's like even the Old Testament where it says like, you shall not mistreat the sojourner.
Yep.
Because when they cry to me, I will answer. I'll leave your wives widows. So the foreigner in that context was a vulnerable minority who had no protection. And so God's like, you better not mistreat that person. And he's saying this to the chosen people. He's saying, if you mistreat this person, I'm going to go to war against you on behalf of this person, and your wives are going to be widows. Don't fuck with these people. So it's like, you're okay because you're in a male-dominated society and you don't care if these girls are getting raped, you don't care if they're getting killed, you don't care, you're just going to keep business as usual because it's not affecting you. There's always going to be a Malcolm-type character or a Magneto-type character that says, oh yeah? Okay, well now you're going to be uncomfortable. And that's why a lot of what's happening now is like, people are uncomfortable. Like, dudes are getting shot in the street, and the sort of invulnerability that you feel is kind of like 9/11. It's like, here we are unilaterally supporting Israel. We're getting involved in all these conflicts in the Middle East that we have no business being in conflict with. And then these dudes are going back and forth with each other, and we're choosing a side, and the wrong side as usual. And then one of these dudes goes, oh, okay, well, we're going to crash a building into here. What about now? Right? So now Americans feel uncomfortable. Now you're going to have to pay attention to what's happening in the Middle East. Now people are going to have to say, well, wait a second, why are we unilaterally supporting this group of people over this other group of people? Like, this is causing us, and of course America responds with ridiculous, retaliation. We've killed 1 million people plus, whatever. And most Americans don't give a damn anyway because they want to go back to their nice little cocoon. And so it's just, and so now the streets are on complete fire because you had a demographic of people who were not being listened to, and no matter how we expressed it, Colin Kaepernick, he's sitting there kneeling, he's a bad guy, he shouldn't be listened to. And then when dudes hit the street, like, you laugh.
you have some male energy in your movement, you know what I mean, like, with what's going on with black people and all over the place. In this, it's particularly women that are being targeted
100%.
And raped, and nobody's taking it seriously, and people do horrible things to women and then they get off for it.
100%.
I had a friend, and her husband was beating the shit out of her, and then when the cops were called, because he happened to be chummy with the cops,
100%.
the cops would just let the whole thing off.
Yeah.
And it's like, how is this happening? And it's been happening over and over and over and over. And it's like one of those things where you say to yourself, before you go on the roller coaster, you're a little bit scared, but then you think to yourself, how many times have I ever met anybody who's died on a roller coaster? I've literally never met anybody. But I have met people that have been sexually assaulted. I have met people who've been abused by their husbands. I've met tons of women who have been sexually assaulted. And it's like, this thing is so friggin' widespread, and it's so little is done to stop it. And I'm not just talking about our American laws, but I'm talking about the church. I'm talking about there's so many different stopgaps that should be there to prevent this stuff, and it's not. And then women are trying to get help, and then it puts them in more vulnerable situations because then they've spoken out, and the whole thing is just absolutely sickening.
Your friend, if she would have bodied that dude, she's in prison.
Right.
And I grew up with it too. I grew up with the whole good old boys gregarious dude who 10 minutes ago was, you know, slapping the shit out of his wife, and then the police show up. He's a very gregarious guy, so they just...
That's what they say. The nicest ones are, you know, whatever, like, it's...
Well, yeah, and of course, when you look at the... Sorry, law enforcement, but I'm sorry. But when you look at the rates of spousal abuse in that community...
Yep.
It makes a lot of sense.
Yep, why they turn a blind eye
and go off and do that shit. So...
Absolutely. But it's just, like, it's stressful to think, like, okay, I'm in a situation now in which I'm not going to be in a situation like that. Like, that's not going to happen. And there are certain things that happened to me in my past that will never happen again. But then I look and I'm like, oh my God, I have 2 girls. And,
yeah, man.
You know, the chances that nothing bad in that way happens to them is...
That's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. Because any dude that's connected to our daughters is gonna know that's not.
Because of your energy, yeah.
The thing is, in all those situations, like, you know, the person that was with you read your father correctly. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And he knew that nothing was really gonna happen to him. Mm-hmm. So. You know, and this is like long before we ever.
He's right, because nothing happened to him on that end. The only thing that happened was I said I'm out.
Yeah, well, that's why, like, one of the last conversations I had with you was like, yo, I'll kill you. I will fucking end your life. And that was before we were even together. And
we were just friends.
And you know, he was on his best behavior because he read me properly. So. But then, you know, I had that last trip. I was on that last trip, that last crazy one. And then he started doing all this bullshit. You know what I'm saying? But that was... And that's when I finally said, okay, next time I see this motherfucker, like, yeah. So I get you. I don't, you know... We try to tell the girls, we try to, you know, empower the girls as much as they can. And my goal is to make it so my girls are not dependent on any man, which includes me, right? But at the same time, like, I think that, you know, and it's the same, like, I was growing, like, my mom was like, you know, I'm gonna get into that, but yeah, I think a lot of it is men understand which women are vulnerable, and they also understand, like, the chances of retaliation for certain dudes are very low, and the chances of retaliation for certain are very high. Like when I was growing up in the hood, like, there were certain people, girls, like, you knew not to even break their hearts, much less do anything to them. There are some girls you couldn't even break their hearts. Like, you couldn't cheat, you couldn't do any of that because their dad was
Could you break up with them?
Yeah. It was just like there was just some energy behind her because she had people behind her.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And her dad, you know, it was one of the few situations where the dad is actually there for the daughter and all that. And, like, you just hey, you know, but that's kind of like the way, like, the relationship between men and women, and how she was saying, I love what she said. Now, this woman's a murderer, so whatever, but I love what she said, where she was like, you think we're weak, and she was like, well, we are, and I think what she's talking about is we're physically weaker than you. But our mental constitution, like, you gotta, like, to be a woman in...
She worked all day like that,
yeah.
She's gonna go and have that happen to her, and she's gonna go back to work again tomorrow.
Right. And of course, in my mind, they shouldn't even be in that situation in the first place. But, like, you know, she's saying, okay, like, we're physically, but at the same time, like, to survive as a woman in certain contexts takes a bunch of mental power that most dudes in this country don't know the first thing about at all.
Absolutely.
And I'm not just saying, I'm just telling, because I've been around the world, I've seen the circumstance in which women live. Like, the way that these women survive, like, it's insane. So you know, yeah, obviously there's an obvious physiological difference between men and women, but, like, a lot of dudes, like, make certain mistakes, and, you know. But yeah, I mean, it's a horrible situation. Definitely tests my, you know, like I said, I'm a pacifist by conviction, but I do, you know, God will put you in situations where he goes, okay, this is where you really are. And there was one particular situation with my daughter where I was like, okay, like, this is where I'm actually this is where I am in the real world. This is where Vincent is, and where I need help, and you know, but at the same
you know
time,
how you'll say there's certain things that you'll say about me that there's certain things that I'm like, I recognize that is a problem, and I'm like, yeah, but I'm not doing anything about that. And I can totally tell in my own heart that this is one of those areas. Like, I see that the anger that I feel when I hear this song is there, but I don't want to do a damn thing about it.
yeah, I mean, and you know, it's righteous anger. I mean, it's not something you should
If it was changing and that wasn't happening and people were getting actually sentenced for stuff that they did for the way that it should be, not like small little slaps on the wrist.
Well, the bus driver's asking the question, right?
Yeah.
He's like, "Hey, are you?" And
Might be.
you know, and so people don't understand. Like, that's the end game of a lot of these organizations that are causing all these issues in the streets. Is that it's just to make a cop say, "Shit, if I do this shit,
Yep.
my entire city could blow up."
Yep.
Shout out to all the. This is a silent count for me
Oh,
because
for sure.
I want to honor the women who've I'm
For
talking
sure.
about from Genesis all the way up to 2020 that have
Yeah.
been through this, and
Yeah.
yeah, we know y'all are strong, and it's our job to create a society for our daughters that we can be happy with. So there you are, Vin out,
Sorry out.
gone.